All right. So with Batman month coming out, you know, uh, this month, um, I decided to do the entire month Batman. Um, I used to play this game, Batman Returns, all the time back in high school. I'd skip on any snow day. I would make that kind of a given to skip school uh, and play Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo. Um, I felt it was kind of an honorary thing to do to pretend I was Batman and play this game, um, which kind of account for my grades that I got. But this game was a pretty good game, I think. Um, I think the gameplay was pretty good. Had kind of a Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game kind of vibe. Um, Graphics were pretty good. They used the same graphic for Batman on this that they did for Justice League Task Force. Um, I mean, it's a pretty good game. It holds up pretty well. It's a lot better than the NES version of this game, although they tried their best that they could do with that version. Um, I'll play that game at a future time, show you guys what that's like, but I don't think that'll make the cut this month. I kind of only want to play the better of the Batman games for these older systems, or at least the ones that I think are the cream of the crop. So anyway, with that being said, uh, here's my go at Batman Returns. I'm not very good at it. I'm not going to use the Konami code, which I think is in this game too. But yeah, it's a fun game nonetheless. So um, yeah, and I think the I think if you're playing, look at that Batmobile, man. I think if you're playing in terms of fun, I think the original NES Batman and then Batman Returns for Super Nintendo. I think those are two of the best games for just in terms of general Batman. I mean, look at how crisp Batman looks. Um, in terms of hitting, he just looks great. And he can pick up an enemy, he can toss them down, he can toss them up. Um, he can toss them off to the side. He can also, if you got, uh, if you got one enemy on one side, an enemy on the other, he can smash them together. I mean, this at the time that was kind of unheard of for this game, for this type of uh, game. I mean, it was kind of it was unheard of, but it was I mean it was limited. It wasn't um, they really didn't do it all that often. At least not for a comic book game. Comic book games were pretty crappy at the time, but they put a lot of effort into this game. You know, um, you can do the grapple hooks, which I really don't do. You can do batarangs, which I don't really do a lot of. I found with this game a lot of the time you're going to be doing a lot of just kicking and punching. I mean, a lot of times it's really kind of all you need. It might explain kind of why I die a lot. Um, but it's just a fun game, and you really do get the Tim Burton feel of of that world, much like you did, even though it's a different aesthetic. Much like you did in the very first Batman video game that they had for the NES. You get a feel of the world that you're in. Um, I love the fact that they have the giant skeleton heads, which is reminiscent of that first scene. It definitely sets the tone of the game, much like it did the Batman Returns movie. Everything is definitely inspired. Yeah, I mean, you look at this game, you definitely tell where you're, what you're in. And I love the fact that you can grab the enemies and throw them up like toward the window. Like this is definitely not something you would expect from a comic book game. I mean they put a lot of effort into the details of the game. So I love that. Just fucking throwing him, just being like, ah, bitch. Because I think that's something like Michael Keaton's Batman would do. And like I said, looking at this Batman here, this is the same almost. I mean, there's a little bit of difference, of course, color being one of them. But there's a little bit of difference um, between him and the Justice League Task Force Batman. But when I do get to that game, make a notation. Like it's the same. It's almost the same character template, and that's also a fun game. I'm looking forward to playing that game too because it's been fuck man 20 years since I've played that game. I mean, I might have 30 years maybe. I might have I might have picked it up for a second. When I uh, was showing Royce, some of these games, but it's been forever since I've played that game. I do like the fact that you can like there are different enemies and they have their own strengths. I don't like the bazooka enemies; they're kind of a bitch. But I do I do like the fact they got these fat ass ones in here that just they squash you. Forgive me for any of the politically incorrect people. They're like, he said fat ass, me being one of them myself. you know, um, but I do like the fact that each enemy has their own strength and weakness. Like these bike riding ones, you can only stop them by kicking them off or using the grapple. Um, you know, to me, I like that part of this game. Of course, this was a nice reference to the Max Shrek opening scene. Uh, Goddamn. Oh, well, there we go. All right, so I've hit my, you know, I didn't beat the first level and I got to my first continue. So anyway, as you can see, it's a fun game. Um, it's not super hard. Um, you know, it, it's it's definitely this. It's got a great deal of nostalgia to it. If you're a fan of the Tim Burton universe, it's got tons of that. Um, as you go through the levels, you see more and more of that. It's heavily influenced from the game. It's one of the few games that, as you go through it, you see more and more of those. And it was true to the movies. I felt, or at least Uh, there was enough inspiration from the movie that they put in the game, which at the time, again, was unheard of. Now, not so much. Um, now they're pretty good about doing that. But at the time, it really really wasn't. Like if you go back to the first Batman game, the one where he's in purple, they took a lot of liberties with that, especially with like the main bosses. But it very much had its own aesthetic. With this one, it's pretty good about um, keeping to the world of Batman Returns, and Tim Burton's world. So for everyone that says Batman Returns is a pretty dark movie, if you're a fan, like I said, if you're a fan of Tim Burton and that world, this is pretty good. And like I said, the controls are great. Like I said, I wish I had gotten one of where you pick one enemy and the other enemy, and you plunk them together. Like that's one of the fun things. But it is pretty cool to kind of grab an enemy, just kind of throw them up, toward the window. That's kind of a cool thing. kind of pick up an enemy and just kind of throw them to the ground. To do that in a Batman game is just fun. I know in the Arkham games nowadays you have so much control, but in a Super Nintendo game to have control like that is pretty cool. So I think this game is a lot of fun. I think it's worth picking up. If you have the old system and you see it, I'd recommend it. It's a great game. Um, yeah, more than just nostalgia stake, I would say. I'd say it's worth. If you're a Batman fan, it's worth picking up. If you're a fan of fighting games, I think it's worth picking up. It's got great control. It doesn't lag at all. When you throw a punch, Batman straight up fucking punches. Um, so it's great. The jumps, the punches, the kicks. You could pick it up right now, and within 30 seconds, you feel like you are an expert at the game. So I mean, you may not be good at it, but you feel like the controls pretty easy. So it's not confusing at all. So yeah. Anyway, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed it, and be genuine, be safe, keep on geeking on, guys.